Okay, we'll settle on this. This works. This is pretty realistic. This has the Spurs here at 8, so that's what it could look like. And then we're gonna move over here to Fanspo. I know Tankathon's still up there, Ethan, but I'm getting this all set up real quick. And I had another draft going. Okay, so for the purpose of saving time, we're going to have the computer draft for us, Ethan, okay? And
Okay.
we're just going to do the first 3 picks. Um, I would click. There's some settings that we could mess with here, but honestly, I'm just going to go ahead. And the only thing I'm going to change is I'm going to go with the Fanspo consensus down here. Shout out to No Ceilings, but that when they bring in the consensus just brings in like ESPN and the Ringer and stuff like that. I could do team needs, but some of the team needs aren't completely accurate in my opinion. So we're just going to roll with everything kind of normal. And then, okay. Dang it. I knew I did something wrong. There we go. Forgot to pick just the Spurs. Here we go. Alrighty, so Cooper Flag goes number 1, Ace Bailey number 2, VJ Mcomb. Like Dylan Harper's going. This is why I said not team need. Oh my goodness. So we do the best with what we can here, Ethan. But I still think that is as much as Dylan Harper falling is not accurate whatsoever. I think the crop of players that was taken before us for the most part is accurate. And that leaves us here with a decision of 2 guys kind of that we talked about at the top of the big board, Ethan, with Asa Newell and Con Newpel. Who would you go with?
I think I go Con, man. Personally.
Yeah, that's what I would do too. I know I just mentioned how I would pick Asa Newell over Derek Queen, but I did forget about Con Newpel, and I would go with Con Newpel over Asa here. I'm with you. Shout out to Asa, but honestly, I think that Con Newpel could even play the 4 himself. As much as I'm going to see him as more of a 2-3 is kind of what he's listed. But we can always move Harrison to that backup 4 position for next season. And honestly, I also just think that Khan's ceiling is higher, in my opinion, too. When you talk about the skilled aspect, I would say I do believe that Khan Newpel is more skilled than Asa Newell. But shout out to Asa Newell, because all these guys we're talking about are definitely more skilled than us. But we're going to go with Khan Newpel here. So that, Ethan, kind of leaves us with that backup center position and the backup point guard position as still kind of the gaping holes.
Well, here we are.
So this is kind of what we have left with here, Ethan. We've got a 4 in Colin Murray Boyles. I can't excuse my vernacular there. That is the highest ranked player on the overall big board. We've got some other options down here. Jace Richardson's a solid point guard from Michigan State.
Jace.
He can shoot the ball. That's something that's also an option. Rasheer Fleming is a 4 as well that we've talked about. Like I said, Sorber's here. They kind of have Danny Wolf down here, but he's down here as well. There's some other ones that have him ranked higher. Hugo Gonzalez is a name that a lot of Spurs fans have talked about for a long time. But what are your thoughts here, Ethan? What are you looking to do?
This is interesting, man. It's cool to know that other people just don't value Danny Wolf in the same way that I do.
Mm-hmm.
If he really is that undervalued, where we could get him in the 20s, even closer to 30,
We'll
maybe
see.
we consider trading back. I don't know. Like time will tell, and we'll see how things shake up. I do like Jace Richardson here. That would give Blake some competition and maybe even higher upside at that point guard position down the line. Thomas Sorber's also a really good guy. Like we didn't really talk about him, but he's also a center that we could explore. If the ether thinks that he has higher potential than my guy Danny Wolf, then I guess we have to accept it, Jude. But I like Danny Wolf personally.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. You want to go with him here?
I'm not saying that. What do you think? Would you reach that far, or
I
would you
think
try and pick one of these
I
other
think
guys?
for me in this scenario, I think what I would do is go with Jace Richardson. I think like when I look on here that he's the highest guy on my personal big board.
Out of
Sorber,
these guys, yeah.
yeah, Sorber, I'm not mad at. And I honestly wouldn't even be mad at Danny Wolf in this position, but with Jace Richardson still on the board, and also kind of with his versatility as well as a combo guard, I think
Yeah.
that kind of that allows us to do whatever we want here. But with Con Newpel, we probably wouldn't move Devin Vassell to the 3. So this probably would kind of
Mm,
shoe him in at that point guard position, but that's given comp to Blake. And I
yeah.
think, you know, the either Blake beats him out or he's good enough to earn the backup minutes. And then we've got, our backup point guard of the future moving forward. But he was Michigan State's best player and
Yeah.
brought them. They just got to the Elite Eight and played a tough game with Auburn. So yeah, that's who I would go with. What do you think?
I think I'd have to agree with you. You've convinced me. And I also forgot, like, let's talk, like, don't even think about competition for Blake. Like, if Devin Vassell in the next year doesn't recover from this season, we're going to need a guy to score off the bench. And then Malachi Branham has shown us that he's not our future six man of the year. Jace Richardson is that mold of 6'3" combo guard that can get a bucket,
Hmm.
like his dad. So maybe that's the long term solution off the bench as far as a guy that can go get you a basket.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. That's who I want to go with here. So this will bring us to the second round. And here's the thing, Ethan, we could have the perfect draft here. If Johnny Broom falls to us at 39, let's see. We could easily go with him and he could immediately come in and be the backup center.
Come
I
on,
I'm
Danny
not
Wolf. Oh, he went to 21 to the Heat. Ah,
and they wouldn't even pick him. They've got Khalil Ware and Bam
yeah.
Adebayo. And there went Johnny Broom too. He just went a little while ago. Alrighty.
I'm seeing something. I do like Ian Jackson. I don't think he'll be available here. Looks like he's going to get selected.
There
Oh, yeah,
he
there he goes,
goes.
32.
Oh, Tyrese Proctor is another name. Oh, Kalkbrenner could have been somebody too. Oh
JT
man.
Toppin's not a bad pick. My God, we are calling it tonight.
Oh my goodness. Okay. Rocco
Rocco.
Zakarsky, is that the obvious?
I don't even know who he is. Let's take him.
You know
He's
what?
exactly the same size
This
as.
is
Come on,
this is Jock Landale.
is that who that is?
No, that's always just from Australia. There's a French center right next to him, Ethan. We got we got a couple French guys here. Oh man.
I've heard some good things about my guy Dink Pate. I
Yeah.
honestly don't know him though.
What? Okay. Do you remember? We've talked about Dink Pate before because he was on
Have
G
we?
League. Yeah, he was on G League Ignite, dude. And last year, he was actually, or the year before last year. So, man, I'm trying to figure out where we're at. We're in 2025. Last year was 2024. So yeah, 2023. Um, and it would have been the 2022-2023 season, if that makes sense. So in the fall of 2022, he was signed to G League Ignite on a 2-year contract when their long-term plans were that
Mm,
they were, going to exist. And then when they faltered after last season, anyways, he didn't have the type of progression that they thought. Like he was originally supposed to be like a top 10 pick,
mm,
in this draft. And it was going to be, he was going to be the next Scoot Henderson, Jalen Green, type guy. Um, but his development didn't go the way that they thought it would, kind of because of everything that was going on with Ignite. And then because he was on that contract, he had to play. They transferred him to the Mexico City team because they had, had promised him to pay him money, but the team that he was going to play for had dissolved. So,
mm.
anyways, you know how I felt about G League Ignite and the G League,
I
Ethan.
do.
So I know all this lore. I actually do think he'd be a high value pick here. But honestly, I forget when, Ethan. This must have been a while ago when I was looking into the draft. I actually have seen stuff about Rocco Zakarsky, and I'm pretty sure I've watched this video. He played in the NBL. There's definitely some things to work on. Will he translate? Not sure, but it kind of is similar to that Jock Landale mold. He's just a lot younger, but he does kind of play exactly that same role that the Spurs are looking for right now.
I think unfortunately that's who we should take. Not maybe not unfortunately. That's who we should take considering who we took in the first round.
Hmm.
But I do like Dink Pate. I do like Drake Powell. Uh, yeah, I mean those are the two guys that I know. Everybody else I'm really not familiar with.
I was gonna say, to be honest, neither am I. I was gonna say Drake Powell and Dink Pate are the only two other names that I know, and other than Dink Pate, Drake Powell was the only one that I would consider there. So I'm gonna go with Rocco Zakarsky here, and he can immediately come in and be that backup center, maybe, or at least he can be the center of the
Well,
future. And we can sign somebody. We could have some depth, somebody that's over 7 foot tall that we can develop
the
at the
future G
point
League
guard position.
MVP is who we just drafted, Jude. Let's be honest.
Exactly.